What are the realistic expectations on Kyrie Irving's return? What he had to say in his own words about it. We'll discuss it coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato and Mavericks analyst Bobby Curla. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys coming your favorite team, especially when it comes to NBA Summer League. We appreciate you coming up and hanging out with us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast today. What did Kyrie Irving had to say about his possible return this upcoming season? Plus, what are the expectations for Cooper Flagg as we get ready for NBA Summer League later on this week? Hopefully you had a safe and happy 4th of July weekend and are now be able to hang out with us here for the next hour here on this Monday afternoon. Tim Cato, what's going on?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. We got 2 sleeps until we hit the Vegas Strip on Wednesday for NBA Summer League.
I know you're not a napper.
I am a napper, actually.
So you can't say for sure it's going to be 2 sleeps.
It might be 2.5, I guess, if we're going to count my nap. I might take here in one of these next couple of days. But
2 REM cycles.
Either way, I'm going to be rested and ready to go for Wednesday. How we feeling?
Feeling great, man. Long weekend. Needed every second of it. Got to see friends. Got to see family. Got to have a good time. Got to have some chill time. Yeah, it was great. It was much needed, and I'm looking forward to getting out to Vegas too.
Tanner has a microphone today. As you can see, Mark Stein is not on here, so that means Tanner can talk to us as well. Tanner, how was your 4th of July weekend?
Pretty good. Dog sat for my brother. Went to pool parties, stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Tanner loves getting by the pool. He's going to have plenty of pool time this week.
I saw Fleetwood Mac cover band. They played Rumors start to finish. They even included Silver Springs at the end. That was great. They also played hits in the first set. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to, I think they're called Forever Mac.
Cover bands are a risky proposition because if you're really good at it, that's awesome. But if you're talking about you're a cover band and you don't do the songs of your particular favorite artist very well, yeah.
They were pretty good.
They were actually pretty good?
Yeah, they were pretty good. I would definitely go see them again, especially at that price. It was a great time.
Okay, well, shout out to the Fleetwood Mac cover band. Let's hang out here today on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Kyrie Irving, of course, who will tour his ACL back on March 3rd. The anticipation will be when he does come back, what that could mean for the Dallas Mavericks and the ramifications for this season. We'll get into a little bit more of that coming up in our next segment. But here's what Kyrie Irving had to say as this particular comment for him resurfaced over the weekend about the expectations for him coming back this upcoming season. Here's what Kyrie Irving had to say on his Twitch stream.
Will you be back by playoffs? Don't hold your breath on that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that I won't be back. It's just I don't want to make any predictions on when I'm going to be back. I just want to be back 150,000% better. So I'm taking my time right now to really get healthy. I'm taking my time to really get my body right, other portions of my body right, and really just enjoy this this recovery process, man. It's not pretty. Yes, it is a beautiful struggle, but I go through kind of the mental roller coaster ride of every day. Just want to be back out there.
Don't hold your breath. I want to be back at 150,000% better when he does come back.
I think he'd be the best player in the league if that's how that plays out.
If that math worked out where he was 150,000% better, we may be looking at the greatest player of all time. But at the same time, Kyrie Irving laying out the expectations for him and a possible return and what that means for him this upcoming season. Cato, what did you take away when you heard Kyrie Irving and his comments with respect to his return?
Yeah, so this is a month old. And I don't think that really has any bearing on the comments, on what he said or the relevance, because there is no news in here. He is not breaking news about his recovery. He is setting correct expectations for that he's going to take as much time as it needs. That this is not something that, he does not know right now when he's going to return. Nobody knows that. There is not a single person who knows when Kyrie Irving is going to feel ready and right to return. and setting any expectations that he is guaranteed to be back next season it's too ambitious. It's too it sucks for him that there is any expectation that he needs to feel right by January or February or March, and nobody's really doing that to the extent like maybe a small. I think it's fair for the fans to assume, just like I do, that I would be a little bit surprised if he's not back next year. But you can't know when. He doesn't know when. That's not how recovery from and rehab from major injuries like this. That's not how it works. This is somebody, Kyrie is somebody who has had knee surgery in the past. He has had major knee surgeries. He has had an infection stemming from a knee surgery. This is a guy who, has had ups and downs with his body, and absolutely has every right to take as much time and wait until he feels right. And so, that's what I took away from it. Just the correct framing, and I think we've tried to do that, but I think one thing that's cool in the player media era or the era where players can directly set the narratives and speak to fans and speak about their their job and give updates like this. It's that he can directly set this as an expectation, and I do think that's the correct expectation. Is that again, I do think he's probably going to be back next year, but it shouldn't be the expectation because that's not how realistically rehab like this works.
It can take a long time. It's all very unpredictable, with injuries like this, like catastrophic injuries. It's not like you're nursing a sore muscle or even a broken bone where you can really measure exactly how much it's healed. Like your ACL, your Achilles, these very serious injuries, they all heal differently. And not only is it literally the biological anatomical healing that needs to happen, but also it's like mental and even some like emotional confidence in your ability to change directions and plant and jump and leap and land and all of that stuff. Like it's very unpredictable. And so even though he did say it a month ago, a month from now he could say it again and it would still be the same thing, because for an injury like that, yes, he has made progress in the last month, but like in the grand scheme of things, probably not very meaningful progress. He's not getting on a basketball court for a really long time. And so, Tim, you said that you would be surprised if he's not back this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back this season. I would be disappointed. I would be upset. I would be really bummed. I love watching that dude play basketball, and I hope he's back by opening night. But, it doesn't always work out that way. Some guys have missed more than a year from an ACL. Some guys have missed 9 to 10 months or whatever it is. So he could come back in January or February, sure. But, and this kind of goes, we'll talk about it more in the next segment, I guess. But like, this really underscores why, we've been saying the whole time, like, can't really take any of this stuff for granted. Like, I don't want them to treat the point guard position like a stopgap, because you don't know how long that gap is that you're trying to stop.
Sure.
It could be a whole season, it could be 40 games, it could be anywhere in between. And Nico has said many times that he wants to look at the optimistic side. He's coming at it from a positive, view this as the best case scenario. Well, the best case scenario, sure, is that Kyrie misses 9 or 10 months and he's back on the court in January. The worst case scenario is what happened to Clay. During his rehab, he tore his Achilles and he missed another season. Like, there's a very broad range of outcomes, and so for fans to say, oh, January, it's no problem, for negative Nancy's to be like, he's not playing all year, which is not what I said, but like, no one knows. No one knows what they're talking about. And that's why whenever Shams tweeted like 2 days after Kyrie's injury that he's coming back in January, it was like, that is absurd, dude. That is complete and utter nonsense. You should feel bad for saying that, because you have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know who lied to you and told you that stuff, but like, it is completely irresponsible for the most wide-reaching, influential sports journalist or basketball journalist in the world, probably, to set that expectation for fans that don't know any better, because all that's going to do is make them upset when it doesn't happen. Like, that is completely irresponsible. So I'm happy that Kyrie came out and said that, because even though I hope Kyrie's wrong, I am holding my breath. I want to see him play. Like, it's important for the player to be able to say, whoa, guys, like, I don't know.
And with Clay, like, Clay was playing, I believe he has said this, like, he was playing before he was cleared to play. So, there's a little bit of complication there. I mean,
and that's important too, because there was very famously, miscommunication in the Mavs own training staff and medical team last year. Like, all of this stuff really matters a lot.
And
Kyrie will get to a point where he has a medical clearance to do on-court dynamic work, contact work, 5-on-5. Like, there are steps, there are medical clearances that will happen as his rehab and recovery progresses. There's also a question of, like, does Kyrie want to come back if he doesn't feel he can be himself yet? On offense, on defense, mentally, physically, it very well could be that there is a medical clearance in January or February, but Kyrie doesn't feel he can be Kyrie Irving until March or April or next season. And that is also part of recovery. That is hand in hand. It is part of the comeback to play process, is that the player has to feel out when they believe they can be themselves on the court, not just that their body has, reached a certain test threshold.
And even if he does, even if that is January, like if he feels good, right? Like mentally he feels good, physically he's looking good. There's a whole, like, you go on the court, you do shooting drills. Now you're doing some running. Now you're playing 2-on-2. Now you're playing 3-on-3. Now 5-on-5. Now full contact. And then there's a minutes ramp up. So, like, even if he's on the floor, let's say January 20th, he's going to play 20 minutes maybe. Like, he's not going to be back to Kyrie Irving 35 minutes maybe for a long time, or maybe it'll be in January. Like, no one has any idea.
I think the important thing to remember too is, and you started to touch on it a little bit, I mean, ACL recoveries can be different for everyone. Jamal Murray, it took him 18 months before he was fully recovered and playing back at the level that he was playing at. Kyrie Irving also, when you think about when he tore his ACL, which was back on March 3rd, it wasn't for another 3 weeks until he had the surgery on the ACL. So you have to factor in that time in as well once he actually had the surgery. So if you're looking at a time frame potentially, you have to account for that as well. So there are a lot of other factors when you start thinking about Kyrie Irving, and not just the injury when it occurred, when he had the surgery, then thinking about the recovery time that he has to think about. But most importantly, he should not rush back at all. If this 2 to 3 year window that the Mavericks have kind of decided that this is what they need to have in order to win a championship, yeah, you're not going to rush Kyrie Irving back in order to try to satisfy winning a championship this year. You may have to look at this year as a gap year given what you're dealing with Kyrie Irving's injury, the stopgap that you now have with D'Angelo Russell, but also factoring in the development of Cooper Flagg and also Anthony Davis and others as far as their own careers are concerned. So to me, I've always thought, and you guys can either agree or disagree, I've always felt like the 26-27 year is the one where you go full in and say, this is the year that we believe that we have a chance to win a championship, because you're not going to win a title this year without a fully healthy and engaged Kyrie Irving. And unfortunately, going into the season, you're not going to have that until maybe after the All-Star break or, at the beginning of March. So I think tempering some of those expectations that he has done here, I think, as to Tim's point, is realistic given where he is in his recovery and what that could mean for this team this upcoming year.
And there, we have no evidence, like all indication is like the Mavericks are fully on board with this plan. Like they are going to give Kyrie all the time that he needs to feel like he is ready to come back. That is absolutely my understanding from everything that I've heard. Kyrie clearly has that same mindset. You can trust that he is going to approach it that way. I do believe Kyrie was probably in line to get a raise off the contract that he was making before the ACL tear. Part of the deal that was negotiated with the idea that he's going to miss a lot of next season, and there's a possibility that it is the whole year. The reason that we're, with all that said, the reason that we're playing this clip, even though it's a month old, is that we in media, try to set expectations, and we try to set, narratives or ideas about what you should feel, smartly about a situation. And so this is a good opportunity to amplify what Kyrie said about his own rehab, and just to make it very clear that, we've talked a lot about Kyrie. We've talked a lot about the roster next season. The far and away, the biggest concern I have is Kyrie's absence. But this is why it matters. This is how Kyrie is approaching it. And if there are fans who still are just like penciling in, oh, he's going to be back in January. He might be, but we don't know that right now. And so I do think it's important to kind of set that as an expectation, to amplify what Kyrie himself is saying about this, even though it's from a month ago. Like you said, Bobby, this could have been said today. It could be said a month from now. Until you get a lot closer, a lot further into this rehab process, there's going to be at some point, an exit and a light at the end of the tunnel, but you can't predict and you can't put a time, you can't put a date, you can't put a specific game or matchup on that. It's just a matter of patience and don't get too ahead of yourself or your expectations that Kyrie for sure is going to be back next year, because if he isn't, that's not on him. It's not him going past the timeline or past a point that he was supposed to return, because there isn't one right now. There is none set, and there won't be for quite a while.
Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, what are the ramifications if Kyrie Irving does miss more time than intended? Plus, we'll get into the expectations for Cooper Flagg as we get ready for NBA Summer League a little bit later on this week. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you work and you play good as well. And Branded Bills wants to make sure that you look good wherever you may go, whether it be to work, at home, or wherever you choose to be. And whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills can help you do it. Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear all over. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel that you need. They have a partnership with 30-plus colleges as well as part of their campus collection, including TCU as well. The Texas Longhorns are coming soon as you get ready for this upcoming college football season. So make sure you head to brandedbills.com and use code BBDLLS for 15% off your first quarter. Again, that's BBDLLS for 15% off your first order with Branded Bills today.
So we'll be in Vegas later this week, and I'm looking at the forecast, and the highs are 108, 107, 107, 107, and 108.
Woohoo!
I'm going to be sweating, all right? I'm going to be sweating even more than I do when I'm here, because it is hot out there. It's summer everywhere in America right now, so you're probably sweating too. And fellas, when you sweat, you stink, and you might smell really bad, and it's not just your pits that sweat. It's everything below the belt. It's everything between the head and the belt. From head to toe, you are sweating and you are smelling. Our friends at Mando, though, will get you smelling right. Not only will that stuff control odor, but it will also control the sweat, too, and that matters a lot. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code DLLS. At shopmando.com. Again, 20% off. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Tanner, can we get the super chat real quick? I'll just knock that out. Classic Sting Lover, $4.99. Classic Sting Lover, huge viewer of the Wings Show. Appreciate you for that. The Wings pod got canceled. Haven't seen any tweets from Erica lately. Is everything okay? Everything is good. Scheduling snafu last week. Some stuff came up last minute. We will be streaming tomorrow. That is Tuesday. Time TBD. Not totally sure on that. I got to talk with Elijah. Got to get with KG. So we're figuring that out. But we will be streaming live tomorrow.
And we'll be recapping the Wings visiting the Phoenix Mercury tonight. Unfortunately, a lot of the stars for both teams not playing tonight. No Satu Sabally for the Mercury. No Rika Ngumbawale for the Dallas Wings. But we will have plenty to talk about when it comes to the Wings and the Mercury from tonight's game. Let's look at what the ramifications could be if Kyrie Irving does miss more time than anticipated. Of course, he provided some comments with respect to what the expectations will look like for his return going into this upcoming year. So let's dive into it, because there's a lot of excitement, of course, around Cooper Flagg and his development this upcoming year. Coming up in our next segment, what the expectations are for Flagg getting ready for Summer League, as we will be there as well. But obviously, you still have a lot of talent on this team when it comes to Anthony Davis, obviously, with P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford. We mentioned Cooper Flagg coming to this team as well, and they just added officially yesterday D'Angelo Russell into the fold as a stopgap going into next year. But, Bobby, I'll start with you on this, because there's a lot of things to consider when you look at where this team is in relation to the Western Conference, where this team is as far as their development with Cooper Flagg, but also still trying to compete in a deep West this year. If Kyrie Irving does miss more time than intended, what does that mean for this team this upcoming season?
Yeah, for this season, obviously, that's a tough blow. I feel like we've all kind of universally been talking about our expectations for the Mavs this season under the impression that he would miss let's say 40 or 50 games, right? So he's going to miss about half the season, maybe a little more. In that event, I think our opinions vary on how many wins they can reel off while he's out. I guess a lot of that depends on how ready Cooper Flagg is to go from day one. If he comes out as a stud, then they can probably get by just fine. If D'Angelo Russell comes in and plays really well, if Brandon Williams, what we saw from him the last few weeks of last season, if that's the Brandon Williams that will just always be, somewhere between 12 and 18 points pretty efficiently, that kind of stuff can hold things down while Kyrie's out. If he's out for the entire season, it becomes a little more complicated because if any of those guys don't have the season we're hoping for, then it becomes a lot tougher. I mean, like, Kyrie's one of the best players in the NBA. He's 25 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. He's 50, 40, 90 kind of guy, the king of the fourth. Like, he's one of the best clutch players in the league. Dallas plays a lot of close games. Like, all of these things become very difficult, and that's to say nothing of injury concerns for some of the Mavs older players or some of the Mavs guys that have dealt with a lot of injuries in the very recent past. And so, the equation becomes a little more difficult to solve if he's out for a long time, but we have all been looking at it like he's going to miss a lot of time. So it's really just that 25 to 30 games that you could hope to get for him that you would have to have other guys step up for.
Yeah, it's, Cooper makes this all so much better because next season has purpose in any context. But what is tricky about having this convo about Kyrie and the team and how good they are is that they've kind of put themselves in a zero-sum game where, title contention is the only thing that matters objectively, even to the extent that, it's not about whether the fans, the Luka trade, the whole idea was this, was a belief that this was going to make the team likelier to win titles now, even at the expense of the fans. So that is what makes this tricky. And like you were talking about this, Kevin, it's the idea that, are they, like their label as title contenders right now?
Yeah, and the idea being that a win now situation was still intact even when you moved off of Luka Doncic, and then when you define a timeline of 2 to 3 years, you are now putting that much more pressure on the situation that you've artificially created to win a championship. And then when you had the injuries that this team unfortunately had, specifically with Kyrie Irving, that puts yet another dent in that potential championship window. So now, not only are you navigating delicately Kyrie Irving's return, but staying afloat enough until he gets back so that you can have a chance to win in this pressurized window that you've created. And I think one of the things that we haven't talked about nearly as much when it comes to not just Kyrie Irving's injury, but more so until he comes back, Anthony Davis's health is going to be massively important for this team, because not just because they traded Luka Doncic for Davis, but him being the defensive anchor for this team, and really in a lot of ways, until Kyrie comes back, their best offensive player as well. A lot of this pressure is going to be on him to remain on the floor as much as he can to keep this team where they need to be by the time Kyrie Irving comes back. Now, yes, you have Cooper Flagg and you have other pieces to be able to help along with that, but this centers, until Kyrie Irving comes back, this centers around Anthony Davis. And we know his storied injury history. He's only played 75 games 3 times in his career. So him being on the floor is paramount when it comes to how this team will look by the time Kyrie Irving comes back, whether it be in, toward the end of February or the beginning of March. Because if he's not on the floor and not healthy, it may not matter when Kyrie Irving comes back, because they may not be in the kind of position that they want to be in to make the kind of playoff run that they would want to when Kyrie does return.
Yeah, the most important thing for any team is keeping your best players available.
Yeah.
And the Mavs know that their best or second best, depending on how you rank them, player is going to be out for a long time. Hopefully not the whole season. Hopefully not the whole season, but is going to miss a lot of games. And, AD has played, God, I looked it up the other day and I don't remember. I think he's missed at least 25 games in 5 of the last 7 seasons. There was a season in there where he played like 74 out of 82 or something. 76 out of 82.
And that was the
24,
season before the last one.
Yeah, and that would be, dude, if they get 76 games from AD this season, that would be, they're going to win a lot
Incredible.
of games. Yeah, they're going to win a lot of games because, he's one of the best players in the league. In my opinion, probably top 10, 15 player in the NBA right now. And so, you need to keep AD healthy because you know that you won't be able to keep Kyrie healthy. And he mentioned this in his clip, right? Like, some days are better than others, and some days, like, that mental and emotional struggle for a guy like Kyrie is so difficult to hear him talk about. Like, that guy is a basketball player. Now, I know that he definitely has interest outside of basketball. He considers himself not just an athlete. Like he's clearly like a thoughtful person and has hobbies and interests and passions and stuff. But like that dude was born to play NBA basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, he is unbelievable. And for him to go through that, some days you're feeling good, some days you're feeling bad. Some days you might, and once he starts playing, some days you might be feeling good, but you might be playing bad. Some days you might be playing well, but you're feeling awful. Like that kind of stuff is really tough, man. And if you've ever gone through, if you watching or you guys on the show with us, like if you've ever gone through some tough stuff, whether that's a physical issue or an emotional issue or a mental issue or whatever, like you go through that kind of thing all the time. And for him, there is no end in sight. And so like just that mental struggle alone, the battle that's taking place up here, forget about what's going on in your knee. Like the battle up here is the most important one that he's got to try and win and manage and everything. And that's going to go on for a long time. Like it's really tough, man. Rehabbing is so freaking hard.
I thought that this team's core, when healthy, might be a title contender. I think I'm even higher on the possibility that they could be a title contender now that they have Cooper. But yeah, this team, the last time we saw them, there has been chatter that Dallas is the likeliest team to knock off Oklahoma City. They're the most dangerous team out west. I think this conversation we're having about Kyrie is enough on its own to be like, okay, let's slow down a little bit on that. Let's not anoint this team as something that we're not going to see what this team is for, the healthy core part of it for quite a while. And maybe, there may still be changes needed around the healthy core, to really get the most out of these players. But I do think really highly of these players that Dallas is building the team around. That said, where did we see them last? We saw them losing in the play-in to Memphis, getting blown out. The evidence that is most cited was that Houston game. That Houston game. Yeah, that almost 3 quarters of Anthony Davis.
That was 3 quarters of belt to ass.
I mean, yeah, those 2.5 quarters with AD was out here doing his
But
daytime games are weird.
The stats show that was the worst shot quality Dallas generated in any game this entire season. That is just randomness to some extent. Sometimes you just create, sometimes shots just go in. Sometimes, that does not, a one game sample doesn't mean anything about the offense. But it does point to the fact that, you can look at the results and you can say, okay, this team's great. And you can look at the underlying numbers and you can say, that's interesting. Was this just a really big overperformance?
Because somebody else will say on the other side of that,
is this a Magnets game?
Yeah, they had 18 blocks that game. It's so the amount of lack of shot creation they had on the offensive end, they was swatting everything out on the other end, on the defensive end.
Yeah, 100%. But what if they had played Golden State instead of Houston?
Yeah.
Like Houston is a team that massively struggled against Golden State.
No, but also the Mavs shot better from 3 in that game than they did in the lane. They were 52% on threes in that game.
Yeah.
52% on threes.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
Wow.
All of that is to say is that even as players start, players starting to get back towards the end of the year, obviously no Kyrie, and he's the most important player to make this whole thing tick. I don't think that down the stretch that Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, I don't think those two were the players that we expect them to be fully healthy, fully ready to go. They did not live up to their lofty expectations a lot of the time. I don't think that's a totally fair way to judge the team. But my point is just also, I don't think that one Houston game is a totally fair way to judge the team's ceiling. If we're not using the end of the year as its floor, if we're not saying, if we're looking at the end of the year and saying, well, they're better than that. They're not. That's not really who they are. They're about to have to play a lot of games without Kyrie, just like they did as they were starting to get healthy towards the end of the year. And I just don't think we know.
How does getting LeBron change it though?
Getting LeBron would change quite a bit. It would change quite a bit.
It changes everything.
It would change literally everything, as you pointed out during the weekend. If LeBron James would come here.
Also, the Rockets were very hurt that day. There's just
there was a lot of folks that were
there's so many reasons to just throw any single NBA game away, and that one is the very top of the
no
list.
Amen, no Tari Eason.
Amen played, but there was no
I think Fred VanVleet was out that day.
There was no Jabari Smith. There was no Fred VanVleet. It was a 2 p.m. game on a weekend in Dallas.
And this will be another conversation that we have at some point, throughout the course
Even
of the
healthy
summer.
players had some stuff going on.
Yeah. The idea of laying out an entire vision and putting that forward as a plan based off 2.5 quarters is objectively a wild thing to do.
To be fair, the plan was laid out before that. This is now being used to justify the plan.
Yes.
And I just think it's a bad justification, the same way that I'm not slamming the construction of the team purely based off what they did at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I just think it goes both ways.
Which is something that, as the rest of the summer goes on, we'll have more conversations about. But coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, we are so excited because we're going to watch Cooper Flagg play a couple of games here over these next few days in NBA Summer League. What are your expectations? What are our expectations for Cooper Flagg as he gets ready to make his Mavericks debut later on this week? We'll get into that. And plus, what the hell is going on in Utah? We'll talk about it a little bit later on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
For a lot of my 20s, I kind of operated under an assumption or a premise that what was going on with my bank accounts was none of my business. It's just let them it'll all figure itself out. But in my 30s now, becoming a more responsible, prudent person, and that includes my finances. And for that to work, for me to finally get my stuff together, Monarch Money has just been an absolute life changer. Finances can be messy. They can be confusing. Monarch Money acts as your personal CFO. They're going to give you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than just your budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for accounts, investments, and goals. It doesn't just manage your money. You can start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. So do get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code DLLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DLLS.
It's hot outside and the sun is shining bright, just like your future is. But if you want to have your eyes protected, you want to do so with Shady Rays. You know that moment, the moment when you realize you left your favorite pair of sunglasses at the beach? Yeah, you don't want to have that moment. And with Shady Rays, they will make sure they take care of you if you happen to lose your sunglasses. But then I found Shady Rays and changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive either. And here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements for your sunglasses. So I now actually wear my sunglasses and I'm worry free because if I break them, guess what? Shady Rays will be able to take care of me no matter what. Shady Rays is eyewear that always has your back. So we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people with Shady Rays today. What are the expectations for Cooper Flagg this coming week as we are headed out to Las Vegas for 2025 NBA Summer League, courtesy of the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, the official hotel of the DLLS Mavs podcast. Our coverage will begin on Wednesday in Las Vegas. So myself, Tim Cato, Bobby Curl, and yes, Mark Stein, and our super producer Tanner will all be in Las Vegas. So make sure that you're following.
Guests, good times, good
guests
vibes.
galore. We've got tremendous guests. We've got a very special one coming up on Friday. We can't tell you about it right now, but if you follow DLLS_Mavs, you'll be able to figure out who that will be coming up later on this week. So we are so excited to get out there. Again, we will be starting our coverage on Wednesday in Sin City, where we will be watching the #1 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, Cooper Flagg, who, of course, with your Dallas Mavericks will be making his debut against the Los Angeles Lakers, against Bronny James and Dalton Connect. Then on Saturday, they will be playing against Dylan Harper and the San Antonio Spurs. Real quick before we talk Cooper Flagg, did you guys watch VJ Edge come this weekend?
I saw some highlights.
Man.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Finally, we have a Cato Corella same thing, same time situation.
That was unnerving.
Me.
I didn't like that.
It was the same.
Imagine me when we do it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird.
Like whenever we did Christmas time. I was really hoping that you would join me, but that's fine.
Oh, my! I didn't know where he was going. We've had like 4 or 5 different ones to choose
Yeah.
from, including this past weekend where we apparently said post-game shows at the exact same time.
Oh,
we were
yeah.
discussing NBA Summer League.
Yeah.
BJ Escom was playing really well for Philadelphia. I'm so excited to see him more as well. But Cooper Flagg, what are our expectations, Tim Cato, for the number 1 overall pick out of Duke, who will make his debut on Thursday? We're looking forward to seeing from Cooper Flagg.
Expectations, or what do I want to see? Because expectations is he's gonna treat it like it's the most important game of his life. He's gonna be hustling up and down. This is not a number 1 pick who's coming in to, I'm the number 1 pick. I know I'm good. Like, I expect that he is going to be a grinder. He's going to be up and down the court. I expect that we're going to see, some really fun blocks. I expect that we're going to see, some dunks, some transition stuff. What I'm curious about is just what happens when he gets the ball one-on-one on the wing. He's got another wing across from him. He's got another guy who's got a defensive rep. I'm just really curious what happens in those situations. I want to see, as he starts playing, this is like Summer League is a little unstructured. These teams have come together just for the past few years, but it's a higher level of competition than what you're going to get in college basketball. Not as structured, but more talent is going to be on the court. So I'm just curious how he reacts to good defenders. I'm curious what he does when Dallas comes up. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to be running pick and rolls. I'm curious how he reads that. Whether he is looking to make. I think I want to see a lot of turnovers, and it'd be great if I see what I'm describing and there just aren't turnovers with it. But I think this is absolutely a place to go and try stuff. And Jay Kidd said he's going to run point guard. He should feel free to make some mistakes. He should feel free. Like, turnovers is an inconsequential stat in Summer League. If I was in charge of making the box scores, that's the one time I'd just remove that column completely, especially for first-year players, especially for players who are going to try stuff, to, kind of like Dallas did with Omax a couple seasons ago, or Jaden Hardy, like full-time point guard experience. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm curious about, and I do think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I hope he doesn't do any turnovers. I'm hoping for a clean game, infinite assist to turnover ratio.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just saying it wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Well, no, I mean, he could go out if he scores 50 or scores 5. It's not going to change anything. Right. Summer League obviously is the place to go mess around and try some things. But he's got really advanced technique, and the kind of game where he could just completely just dominate a Summer League game. Like, that dude could just completely pick the Lakers apart. Now, Lakers are already playing games, and so that's always kind of interesting too, because all of these guys will have played 3 or 4 games or whatever they do the Sacramento one, right? Or are they in Utah this year?
Salt Lake City.
There's one in Salt Lake City. There's one in San Francisco, right?
San Francisco, the California Classic.
Sacramento. Either way,
yeah,
they've already played a few games, and so they'll be a little more in tune with one another than the Mavs. But he's going to have Nembhard serving him up looks, and they got some shooting on that team. They got some athletes on that team. They could get up and down. Like, the only time in my memory, at least, that the Mavs had a good Summer League team was back in 2017. They had Dennis Smith Jr., they had Dorian Finney-Smith, Nico Brusino was on that team. They had Jonathan Motley. They had a few other guys. I don't remember all of them. But it was a really, really good team, and they steamrolled teams because they were getting up and down the floor. Bunch of athletes scoring on the break. Dennis was really good. But Cooper also has this like half court game that I think he can go get buckets on anybody. And so I expect the Mavs to like have a real team and like win games and look really good. Like, not just, let's just roll the ball out there and see what happens. Like, I expect them to play like very intentional basketball, and maybe overwhelm some teams that aren't ready to fight. But he is only playing 2 games, so that's what they say. So hopefully in those 2 games they look legit.
Yeah, the expectations for me, I expect Cooper Flagg to dominate on both ends of the floor, especially on the defensive end. We've heard a lot about the defensive motor that he has and his ability to guard and his willingness to defend on that end of the floor. And who knows, we may get a Zion Williamson, Kevin Knox moment from 6 years ago, where you remember when Zion Williamson just ripped the ball from Kevin Knox and posterized and had a dunk and electrified, everybody in NBA Summer League.
I legitimately do not remember that.
You don't remember that?
No.
Can I? Which one?
When Zion Williamson ripped the ball from Kevin Knox.
I saw you retweet that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I fill out the roster? The
Yeah.
2017 Mavs roster. Of course, I forgot about Brandon Ashley, who was really good for that team. AJ Hammonds, former Mavs draft pick. Sotnam was on the team. Did not play. Stretch big. Yeah. Ding Young Yuan came off the bench and was awesome. Josh Adams, big time athlete. I believe got a contract out of that. And so all our eyes are going to be on Cooper, obviously. But the Mavs have one two-way spot open.
They do.
And then all those guys on the team are going to be vying for that spot or jobs for other teams. So don't only pay attention. I know, obviously, Cooper's going to draw your eyeballs and Nembhard and Miles Kelly and those guys. But, like, they got Maxwell Lewis. That dude is looking to stick around in the league. Like, they got some guys that are vying for deals. So
Summer
should
League
be
legend
interesting.
Jamarian Sharp is also back
Yep.
for the Dallas Mavericks as well. But yeah, I think for him, it's going to be about being the best player on the floor, but also the variety of his offensive game too. What he's doing in terms of shooting the ball from three. That's one of the things that we've talked about when it comes to Cooper Flagg, his continued improvement when it comes to shot mechanics and what that looks like. But for me, I just want to see him get after it on the defensive end, because that to me is going to be his calling card to start off with, especially for a team that's built its identity off of defense winning championships. Cooper Flagg, I think, has a chance to electrify a lot on that end of the floor in Summer League. Some folks in the chat are already saying they want to see a Cooper Flagg poster dunk on Bronny James. They're looking forward to potentially seeing something like that as far as Summer League is concerned. But I think there's a lot of anticipation to see him play, not just because of the season that he had at Duke, but obviously we have touted him, and a lot of folks have touted him as a generational prospect, and that's a lofty title when you're talking about a player of potentially Cooper Flagg's caliber, because those don't come along very often. And if he is, we might be seeing something special at Summer later on this week.
Yeah, what I will say is I'm not going to care if he shoots 1 or 10 on threes. Summer League is not where you decide how his jumper is going to translate. If he hits a bunch, that's great, and it's certainly a better sign than otherwise. But even then, it's still something that I'm gonna pace myself on coming to any conclusions about his jump shooting, him stretching out to NBA range, like that stuff. There's time for that to come. Mostly, I just want to make sure I want to see him be comfortable taking them out there. And so I don't really care how much they go in or not. I just want to see them go up, especially if we're looking at a 2-game sample size. Like, I'm just not going to care so much about the raw numbers. And very similarly, I think the more instructive thing about his game and where he is at, and, the idea is he going to be kind of the number 1 option alongside AD? Is he going to be the number 2 option? Is he going to be, somebody who is leading offensive units, like a lot of times maybe bench units, next season when AD is on the on the bench and he's leading a bunch of subs? Is this a viable thing? I want to see how he does in those settings. It's less about how much he scores or tallying up points, and I don't think there's much concern about that. This isn't a Wemby situation where he just flew into the draft and overseas, and he's had like an exhausting few weeks. I think he's going to be ready to go. I think he's going to put up numbers, but I want to see how he does when he gets put in one-on-one situations against a like for like matchup. I want to see how he reacts to those things. I don't know defensively. I think we're going to see who he's going to be. I don't know how much we have to learn from the defensive end. I think everything that I'm looking to learn from Summer League, to the extent that you can learn anything, is just how he responds to these, this next step up of NBA athlete, who are guarding him. How does he respond to those situations?
Point Flagg.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
So
how much ball will he have the ball in his hands as a point forward type situation as well to those first couple of games? It'll be fun to see as well. So there's a lot to look forward to when it comes to Cooper Flagg, because the anticipation is building and rising by the day. Remember, the DLLS Mavs podcast, our entire show, will be in Las Vegas starting on Wednesday with NBA Summer League coverage. Again, thank you to Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino,
buddy.
the official hotel of the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Feeling good. Looking forward to splitting 10s. Looking forward to splitting aces. I'm going to have such a good time out there. Oh, my God.
I can't wait.
Seeing that sports book, like if y'all ever can't find me, odds are I'm just somewhere in that sports book.
Somewhere in the sports book for sure. I can't wait to hang out with Tanner.
I might go, you know what?
I think Tanner's going to be the MVP of our trip. I'm calling it right now. Tanner's going to be the MVP of our trip.
I don't know.
I know we just talked about how the Mavs might not be contenders, but I bet that means you could probably get pretty good value. I might go put my money where my mouth is on some of this stuff.
Okay. Look at you putting your money where you might have to.
Well, I was in the league for 10 years. I couldn't bet.
Oh,
on
that's
anything.
right, because now you're free.
Yeah, now I'm free to do whatever I
You're
want.
free
I
to
can
do
do
what you
whatever the hell I want.
Speaking of whatever the hell they want to do, what they want, the Utah Jazz, what are you doing? We're going to try to figure out what's going on.
So we got some Jrue Holiday stuff, too.
Oh, okay.
Got a little tweet update about Jrue Holiday.
Okay, we'll talk about that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
We got moves being made all over the NBA. Oh, it's not to make your move special anymore. Well, I hope you made your move. We got moves being made, and all those teams did it, and you had the chance to last week. But even though that sale ended, you can still become a diehard today. Scan the QR code right there, or click the link in the description below, or go to alldlls.com where you can join our community of diehards. When you sign up, you get a free shirt of your choice. We got more than 40 to choose from, including Tanner, the flag captured T-shirt. There you go. Look how great! Oh my God, that thing is so sharp. You can go pick up one of those. Hey, whenever you sign up to become a diehard, you get one shirt for free. If you see 13 more that you like, and you're like, well, what the heck? You get 20% off all the other stuff you could ever want on the site and more. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord. Great place to hang out with your diehards. You can add me on Pokemon Go. If you're a diehard, I got room on my friends list for you. We got a diehard that's sending me gifts from Ireland right now, which is pretty sick.
Whoa!
In the game, it's not like a real gift. It's like a gift in the game, but it does mean that you get to encounter a different kind of scatterbug that you wouldn't normally get to encounter.
I don't know any of the words you just said.
Well, you can do that if you want. You also get to read the website, including written coverage from Tim Cato. I'm sure whenever he's out in the desert, he's going to be getting stuff from Cooper and the gang at the arena while we're bringing you post-game shows. So if you want to stay in the loop on all that stuff and all the future moves the Mavs could make, including may or may not getting LeBron, who knows, that's what you want to do. We also bring you coverage of every other team in town. And you get your physical diehard card. Who could forget the physical diehard card? Kevin Gray, you have 12 seconds to get it.
I think I got mine.
Can you do it?
I can do it. Bam!
Let's go.
There we go. Let's go.
I saw Sarah in chat saying, hey, let's go hang out in Vegas. If you're a diehard, we will come find you in Vegas. We'll come hang out. So, Sarah, looking forward to seeing you out there.
That's a threat.
I meant that
Not
in like
a threat.
like a friendly way. Like, we'll come hang with you.
Not a threat.
Or you can come find me in the sports book at the West.
That's right. That's right.
Can I give you that Jrue Holiday thing real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. What's going on with Jrue
So
Holiday?
the Blazers had agreed to trade Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks to the Celtics for Jrue Holiday. After performing the physical, they said, okay, it's not bad enough to cancel the deal, but it's not good enough to where we're feeling good about the deal. So now it's just Anthony Simons for Jrue Holiday.
Straight up?
Yes. So,
And this is because of Holiday's physical?
because of Holiday's physical.
Yeah.
So, unlike not to beat a horse and bang a drum.
Yikes.
When the Mavs found a bad physical, they still gave up the best pick in the trade. They just took one in the future. But the Blazers said, we're not giving you our second-round picks, but we will still do the trade. So there are 2 ways to go. And looks like the Blazers probably did the better one, and the Mavs, unfortunately, did not.
In the article from the Oregonian, which I believe
What a word.
broke this. According to the source, a recent review of Holiday's medicals revealed nothing substantial enough to warrant the trade being negated. Holiday is considered to be healthy and will be working out this summer in preparation for the start of training camp. But there was a little something there. And I agree. I agree with your snap analysis that does. There is quite a parallel to a deal Dallas made. Also, Michael Scotto just reported the Rockets, when they signed Dorian Finney-Smith, 4-year, $53 million. First 2 years guaranteed. Third one partially guaranteed. Fourth one not guaranteed. So,
oh wow,
there's some argument from the Lakers when Dorian Finney-Smith left that
apparently his knee was out here cooked. Apparently,
yeah, and it's like it's not realistic to pay guaranteed money at that rate to Dorian Finney-Smith 4 years from now. Well, sure turns out that the Houston Rockets might not be either if there are injury concerns that prop up with Dorian Finney-Smith, which we certainly hope there are not.
Wow. So Jrue Holiday, Anthony Simon straight up, and also Dorian Finney-Smith contract updates. Let's talk about this real quick because obviously we're waiting to see when Bradley Beal will be bought out by the Phoenix Suns, where he could possibly go, whether it be the Lakers, the Clippers, the Timberwolves, according to Jake Fisher, Mark Stein's buddy. By the way, for those who are wondering where Mark Stein is, he will be with us throughout the entirety of our time in Las Vegas. So you will be able to see him a little bit later on this week. For those who are wondering, where is Mark Stein? You'll see him later on this week here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But we did have a trade a few hours ago involving 3 teams, the Clippers, the Jazz, and the Miami Heat, in a trade that sends Norman Powell to the Miami Heat, John Collins to the Los Angeles Clippers, and Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson, and a 2027 Clippers second-round pick to the Utah Jazz, which indicates to a lot of folks that the Jazz continue to race as quickly to the bottom as they can for that kid coming out of BYU going into the 2026 NBA draft. But just your snap reaction to that 3-team trade that sends Norman Powell to the Miami Heat and John Collins to the Los Angeles Clippers there.
I don't hate it for the Clippers. I don't love it, but getting a real power forward in there, I think he's going to mesh well with James Harden. There's a lot of rumor or speculation that if Bradley Beal gets bought out, they could still offer him the taxpayers mid-level and potentially add Bradley Beal to that team. Bradley Beal is obviously, on a contract that does not match his production, but he is still a pretty good player. Certainly if he's just in a limited role coming off the bench, replacing somebody like Norm Powell. If that is how this plays out, I think you can make the argument that the Clippers have a better roster than they did last season. Clippers always come with the asterisk of health and how things age and how much Kawhi is going to be available. But
that team all of a sudden is really big too.
Yeah,
between
for sure
Lopez, Zubac, now you add Collins to that. Like that's a big team in Los Angeles.
A lot of space though.
Yeah.
I love that trade for the Clippers. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think that even if Kawhi is out, I think that they can work really well because like Harden in a spread pick and roll where you got Lopez spacing, running pick and roll with Collins is nasty. They brought back Batum, so they got a lot of length on defense. Obviously height, but length, wing depth, wing length, switchable. Like that's a good team, man. Norm Powell had a great year last year, but
he had a fantastic year.
Is he that guy, or did he just have a really good year?
Noted Mavs killer, Norman Powell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Utah is just they suck so bad. They traded Colin Sexton for Yusuf Nurkic. Like, so we knew from the jump that they were like, yeah, we don't even want. They won 17 games last year, and they were like, cannot ever do that again. Let's win fewer next time. Because they traded Jordan Clarkson for what? Nothing, right?
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Bottom out.
They bought him out.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jordan Clarkson gone. They could have traded him for stuff a long time ago. They didn't. Colin Sexton gone for Yusuf Nurkic. Have fun with that. John Collins traded for 2 guys that they're also going to buy out. Maybe a trade exception, I guess. Like I don't know. Like
a large trade exception.
What you don't want to do is be left holding the bag on all this stuff. They had 3 vets that they could have gotten stuff for at any other point during their totally not a rebuild guys. We're trying to win games era, and they didn't. They ended up giving all of them away for free or paying them to leave with nothing to show for it other than a team that's about to win 14 games next season. And yet they're still, if I had to guess, probably going to raise ticket prices next year. I'm sorry for fans of the Utah Jazz, but your team absolutely sucks and is not going to get better anytime soon.
The weirdest thing about this, though, with Utah continuing to try to do this race at the bottom thing, have they not seen what the last 2 NBA drafts would have happened here?
Well, it's happened to them.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the Atlanta Hawks win the number 1 pick with remote chances. Obviously, the Mavericks with a 1.8% chance just won the NBA draft. Like racing to the bottom isn't necessarily a good idea when the draft lottery odds have now been flattened. Like they had the worst record in the league last year and dropped all the way to 5th. And yes, they still got Ace Bailey, but at the same time, your idea of, hey, let's just tank all these games out, it doesn't necessarily mean anymore that you're going to be having the best odds of getting the chance to win the number 1 pick.
It doesn't mean you're not going to win.
It doesn't mean you're not going to win, but also
this is not a 1-player draft. I mean,
There's a lot of good players in this.
But I think that we all know who I think they're
Darren
trying
Peterson.
to go for.
Oh, yeah,
Darren
they want
Peterson,
DeBonce.
They want DeBonce. That's what they want.
Of course. You know, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer. Like there are players who this
Hold on,
feels
did
like
you say a boozer?
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm getting old, man.
Dude,
Jameer
it's
Nelson.
Golly.
Jameer Nelson Jr. was playing in summer league games
What the
past couple
hell?
days.
I saw a tweet
Yeah.
earlier.
I mean, Dylan Harper's dad played with MJ.
no.
You know,
I got really freaked out. Okay, this is off topic real quick. I saw a tweet this week where 3 former NFL players, their sons are all going to Notre Dame. I think it's Larry Fitzgerald's kid, Thomas Davis's kid, and Jermichael Finley's kid.
Thomas Davis, dude,
Thomas
the
Davis
linebacker.
has a son. Yes, the linebacker.
Oh my God,
has a
he was in the
son.
Super Bowl like 10 years
That's
ago.
what I'm saying. Has a son that's going to Notre Dame. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm
Wow.
getting old, man. It's crazy. But
So the thing with
Jeez.
Utah though, right? Like, now I don't know. I'm not there, so maybe Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and John Collins were all what?
Go ahead.
Maybe they were all like malcontents and real tired of losing, and maybe they contributed to their bad culture. But like we see this all the time, man. In Charlotte, they got a bunch of young dudes, and guess what happened? A lot of bad stuff. An incredible amount of bad stuff happened there. Utah is about to be horrendous. Yeah, the Wizards flipped some of their vets for young guys, but now like their entire team is 21, 22. Whenever your entire team is guys that are trying to play for their second deal, trying to make a name for themselves, trying to figure out what they do in the NBA, that leads to a lot of chaos. Like, you have to maintain order, man. You have to have some level of Austin Guerrilla, his term, decorum. You have to have like leadership. You have to have like stability and culture and all these things. And I just think it's impossible whenever your entire team is a bunch of teenagers. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad for the players too, and for the fans, for everyone. It's I don't like it at all.
Yeah, and I mean, you said this, but for Utah to half tank 2 years in a row, and then now only finally commit to this, I have some sympathy, especially for small market teams who don't have the star to build around. I have some sympathy to the idea that if you just do, you just may not be able to go get the star. You may not be able to build the winning team without being bad for a bit. And certainly, you know, I do not like the entire point is to go get that star player, to have somebody to try to build around, even if it's not necessarily going to be a top 10 player, just somebody who has a chance to be a top 10 player.
Indiana just got theirs. OKC just got theirs.
They just got
I
their
mean, OKC was bad for a while. I mean, they actually weren't even that bad for
they
very
were
long.
like 2
were they?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indy was bad for what, like a year and a half? They get Halliburton, they go all in for Siakam, and boom. You know?
And that is the argument. Like, don't get rid of the vets. Try to go move Markkanen for the next SGA. Way easier said than done. But, you know, you could go scour and look for guards who have potential, for players that you know, are not, you know, okay, old aging team that's trying to win now. We've got a win now player. Lauri Markkanen fits pretty much anywhere. Are you willing to mortgage some of your future for a player that's going to help you now? And we're going to take in the player, and hopefully that allows us to build for the future. And I don't know. It's just, they didn't do it the right way. It's a mess over there. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. If you made me Utah GM, I'm not saying I'd do anything differently, like right now, because I just don't feel good about any direction of anything go.
The thing is, though, they were never mediocre. Like the Jazz have been horrible now for many, I mean, not many years. They were in the playoffs in 22, but like in 23, 24, and 25, they were all bad. Last year they were the worst team in the West, and I think they might have had the worst record in the NBA. Yeah, they did, and they fell out of the top four. They were what?
They were fifth.
Yeah,
they
were
fell as
fifth.
far as
Like,
they could fall with having the
so, like,
worst record of the league.
being mediocre is bad, but being completely awful is also bad, because you're not guaranteed anything. Like what is their realistic path to being good right now?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Can you even squint and see the next good Jazz team?
I mean, they thought it was going to be race to the bottom and go get Cooper Flagg, and then we'll build from there. That didn't work. So now it looks like they're going to try to race to the bottom again to try to go get AJ, the Bansis.
Yeah, I mean, this is like kind of copium, but like you could talk me into like Colin Sexton, Ace Bailey, Lowry, Walker Kessler, with hoping that Keontae George or one of those guys hits. Like you could talk me into believing in that. You're probably still going to be very bad. But the West is so good that even with those guys, you're still probably going to only win 20 games, and you could still get DeBonza. And then you have like an actual team. But now you don't have any of that stuff. It's like,
And they got the nerve to have the kind of asking price for Walker Kessler and some of these other players that they're just clinging on to.
And that's why they had to buy out Jordan. They were doing the same crap with Jordan Clarkson for 2 years, and no team was dumb enough to bite on
we're
that.
not doing that.
Yeah, dude, no shot.
We're not doing that.
You will take Yusuf Nurkic and you will say thank you.
That's right. So congratulations to Utah, as we know that they will be
Are they getting
racing
Quentin Grimes, though?
to the bottom. If they never mind, let's not. We appreciate all of you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. We will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. as we move that much closer to NBA Summer League in Vegas. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Krill. That's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good and enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you later. Peace.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.